Yesterday we were talking about Sheva Brachas in the 770 at the Fabrangens.
My Sheva Brachas?
Somebody remind your name here with the Rebbe, right?
Yeah.
True.
He said you had Sheva Brachot with the Rebbe.
Yeah, of course.
And the Rebbe, there was once that they did 2 Sheva Brachas, or 3, one after the other.
Well, that was that night.
And the Rebbe said, when did you get married? Which year?
79.
No.
Lamed
Lamates.
Tishrei.
So how many Sheva Brachot were there?
That night too. Pam and the Rebbe.
Right. But what happened was that this Fabrangen, they did the 2 Sheva Brachas and one right after the other.
Right.
And the Rebbe said that there's a shaila if you're allowed to split up the crowds. So the Rebbe said in the future that they should do a Sheva Brachas by one of the singing. They should have a sicha, and then they should do another Sheva Brachas
so
after
then
that.
they called me after that, second one.
Why isn't that breaking up the crowd?
So the Rebbe said that maybe you could say that Pshat is that the Divrei Torah Koiva Brachal Atzma. It's considered like a Mesiba Chadasha or a Shulchan Chadash, a separate kriyas.
Right, because the Rebbe made a sicha, and then we had a Sheva Brachas. And that ended the Fabrangen. It was that one?
No, this was an earlier. What happened was that they did 2 Sheva Brachas, or 3, one after the other. The Rebbe said that he doesn't want to pass on the Shaila, leave it up to the Rabbonim. But his suggestion would be that because, you have to do a few Sheva Brachas, there's a few Chasana.
So which parsha was that?
This was in Tov Shin Chav Ches, and this is earlier. That
No.
is much. It's
Chav Ches.
68.
No.
During his, he also spoke about the Shabbat?
No, but he says that there was a split. The Rebbe said they should split it. They should do Sheva Brachas, another Sicha, and another Sheva Brachas, and another Sicha.
But even if it's true that Torah is like the Simcha, why would the second group that's not be able, why would they be allowed not to answer to the first one?
No,
they can answer.
Everyone can answer.
They can answer, but they don't understand it.
No,
So let's learn Innovanik in the Shulchan Aruch. Because the Rebbe doesn't say here, and they're not Metzayin, what would be the Shaila. The Rebbe just says that they just did a few Sheva Brachas. The Rebbe said it's not ma'inyan to mix into Shaila and Alocha. However, it happened to my Dal Damas, and this is a Shaila, and that's what the Rebbe said to do. Mesiba achas befrat al shulchan aruch yesh mokum l'shakla v'tarya im yecholam l'schalek l'chaburas chaburas u'lavorach kol chabura b'fnei atzma l'lo hefsek b'intayim. These are the Rebbe's words. So let's learn the Shulchan Aruch and see what would be the shaila and what would be the solution. Why am I having here a copy of the Mishnah Brura? We're learning the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch because this one siman Kuf Tzad Gimel is missing.
What?
Yeah. So.
Wow.
So since it's so close to the yahrzeit of the Mishnah Brura, so come to us, right? So come to us that we're learning
Today?
Yes, it was yesterday. Shnaim Shachlo. The 20 simonim of Birchas Hamazon was one simon missing, and that's simon Kuf Tzad Gimel. So let's come to Shkocha Pratis. It's now the yahrzeit of Chametz Chaim. Yeah, that one simon out of the 20 of Birchas Hamazon, one is missing. Kuf Tzad Gimel. Shnaim Shachlo. Two people ate together. When it comes to moitzi, there's no shayla. One person can make a moitzi for the other one. However, when it comes to benching, mitzvah like every person, there's 2 people, every person has to do their own Birchas Hamazon. They both know how to do Birchas Hamazon. If one knows and the other one doesn't know. The person who knows makes the Birchas Hamazon, the other person is Yaitza. That's what the Gemara says in the beginning of the Perek of Shlosh Shachal. If there's a Sefer and a Bur, one knows and one doesn't know, so the person that knows makes the Birchas Hamazon for the person that doesn't know. Yes, however, but there's a lot of conditions in this. It has to be that the listener understands Lashon HaKodesh. He doesn't know how to say the words. Like today you have people in Israel. They know Hebrew, but they don't know how to make a bracha. The person that makes the bracha has to have kavanah. The person who's listening has to have kavanah. Ain't Yotze B'Shmiya. If he doesn't understand, he's not Yotze B'Shmiya. L'shloisha shachlu. Look, I mean, let's not focus on this din. And now let's focus.
Isn't that when Chazaras Hashatz was made? For the Amilatzim?
Yeah. So this is a similar takana.
Yeah, but here's fakir. There they Yotze, even though they don't understand. Here they don't.
Yeah, this is a very chumlik takana here. Why? There's a machlokes rishonim why over here there was so machmer, and one of this is because Bichs wasn't deraisa. Because all the other things are all that Rabbanan din. Here it's really a deraisa din. V'chalta v'savot v'rachta.
What is he going to do? He can't bench. So what is he going to do? Why shouldn't this be best?
So Chazal are telling you
Only takana for
that, well, he has to be Shemaya Koina. But if he doesn't understand, by Tefillah, it's Hein Omer ve'Hein Omru. They're telling you, listen, this is what we want to do. This is a special takana we're going to make. By Bichs Muslim, it's not there, it's in their hand.
No, but so that, then it was part of the mitzvah because he doesn't understand what he's going to say, even if he said
nothing can do. What can we do?
But today, nowadays, a lot of people doesn't know Hebrew, but the Sibir Katanaz, I don't think they understand.
They say brich, they say pasuk to
Okay, so you want a copy of what we're learning?
people that come to Chabad houses, right? What does the shliach tell at the end of the road? They say that brich.
Right, the Gemara says that you could say, but they really have to understand at least that it's a big problem, but you have to understand at least that something.
If a person said Shema Yisrael in the English instead of the Hebrew, is he Yotze Shema?
Yeah,
They
it says,
understood
well, the
nothing?
Shainis, it says.
If they understood
Well, what
nothing.
happened?
And understood in English.
Pashtus, they're not. We learned it in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. It's
Also,
what
Hashem
someone
has
said.
to be in Lashon
They have to. No, if they don't understand the word they're saying.
No, if they say
In English.
Kriya Shema in English.
They
Hero
Yotze.
Israel.
Sure they Yotze, yeah.
Yeah,
Yotze,
you
right?
also call it
Yotze.
Shainis, it says.
So
Why
that,
shouldn't they be Yotze?
oh, so I'm saying, so Birchas wasn't too, that's
Yeah,
said in English.
yeah, sure. That's why it's so important to have the benches like we have today, Mesimchas,
Yeah.
in English.
Right.
It's
People
very
think
important.
it's like a modern thing for care.
But
Okay.
if it's
Very,
not
very important.
if it's not
So then
translation,
and you see like over here, even when Chazal said that there's a Sofer of Bur, that the Sofer is Mavorach and the Bur is Yotze, all the Rishonim understand, that's only if the Bur understands what's going on.
Right.
But if the Bur, like today, a Bur in America who versteht nothing, who doesn't understand what's going on, he's not Yotze. There's no Shemaya Mashmiya, there's nothing going on.
He's not such a bore if he understands what's going on, though, you know?
No, look, in Hebrew, in Israel, you have such a thing. In Israel, you can have a guest that comes to your house Shabbos, that Rahman al-Islam knows nothing about Torah mitzvahs, but he knows Hebrew. So if you're going to say Bechas HaMazon, and he's going to listen, he understands.
Right.
And but to start opening a bench and read, he's not shaykh to it.
I wonder if it would be better if you would say the benching in English, so that he's Yotze, then maybe you should say Birchas wasn't in English, because then you'll be much your guest.
So why can't he say it in English?
Because he doesn't want to. Let's say he says, yeah, it's okay, I don't want to.
Okay, so
All right, so listen to me. Oh, okay, I'll listen to you.
maybe not a bad suggestion. Not a bad
my
suggestion.
question is, if it's translation, it said Baruch Atah, in English it said Baruch Atah. You still don't understand.
No,
It's not good.
That
It's not
It's
good.
not
It's
good
not
at
good.
all.
Well, Pirsha Milus is not a good.
Transliteration is not good. They have to have
It
translation.
said
Yeah.
English translation.
Right.
Right. Well, what's up, Bo? What are you saying?
He thinks that
translated?
transliteration.
What does that mean, translate?
So Russian can read the Hebrew, but it's
In
spelled
Russian.
out in Russian.
English
But it doesn't
writing
give him
of
any
the Hebrew, the
understand-
Hebrew have wrong.
But it doesn't give him
Hebrew-
any understanding.
English,
the
spelling-
phonetics,
English spelling, the phonetical.
the phonetics of Hebrew.
Correct.
So it's not true. It's
That's no good. No good.
Correct.
Why no? Why is no good?
You have to understand. If he doesn't understand, then it's not worth anything.
And why? And if let's say he reads Hebrew and he does not Pirsha Milus,
That's not good. I don't want to focus on this thing.
all right,
It's the
nice.
opening words of the simon, but the main thing of the simon is how the chiyuv of zimun falls onto your shoulders and how you do it. Aval shloish shach, three people that eat. Einam rashoim lecholek. Yeah, you see
Yeah,
it again.
Avos
Mishnah
Shach,
Brura,
yeah,
Simon
yeah.
Kuf Tzad the Gimel, Sif Aleph, the fourth line, last three words. Shloisha Shachlu Einam Rashem Licholek. Three people that ate together, they're not allowed to split. Mishnayim Shachlu, if the two people ate, Mitzvah Shiachzru Acher Shlisha should start with Imam Lazimun. They're trying to bring a few ayahs from different Gemaras that if two people ate, it's a mitzvah that they should try to get a third person to eat with them. One of the ayahs is that the din is that the Braisa says that if there's two people that eat lunch and there is a waiter, a shamish, he's without permission, he's allowed to eat with them. Because we assume they want him to eat so they can have the mitzvah of a zimun. But if the waiter sees there's 3 people at the table and he's waiting, he's not allowed to take from their food unless he asks permission. But if there's a waiter and there's two yidden, that it's good that the waiters don't know the halacha. So it's not good. If you would go to a restaurant, 2 people, so the waiter brings you food, he's allowed to share with your food.
But the problem is, a lot of waiters just put the yarmulke because they're not even Jewish. That's it.
Also, it doesn't say that they could take from your steak, they could take from the bread. Continue. Again, going back to the 4th line, the last 3 words. Shloisha shachlin misham lechalak. B'shnayim shachlin mitzvah shachlin shlishi shitzavim am lezimkim. V'chein arba chamisha also l'hem lechalak shekolam neschayvu bezimun. It's also to split. Not allowed to leave the room. In Siman Reish, we're going to talk about this if there's a dvar mitzvah, if there's an emergency, if there's allowed to leave. There are certain circumstances where they're allowed to leave. If they have an emergency, a question of parnasa or something. But unless they have an excuse why they need to leave, it's also for them to leave the room. They have to wait to do the zimun together with the 3 or with the 10, as we'll say soon. Shisha nechlokin kumishishar zimun l'chol chabura. They could split. 3 and 3 could split. 3 people in a hurry, the other 3 stragglers will stay and make their own zimun. That's fine. But if you have 10, they're not allowed to split. Now that they have the mile of saying Elokeinu, so 10 people are not allowed to split. If there's 20, now they're allowed to split. It's not that they're obligated to split, but if they want, they could split. It's a mitzvah to try to have 10 people for the zimun. However, if there was a lot of people in the room, 100,000 people in the room, they can't hear the Birchas HaZimun. But it's a case where they can't split into groups of 10 because the Balabais will be upset about it. So then they could split into small groups of 3 to make the Birchas HaMazon quietly. The Balabais shouldn't hear.
They're hiding from him.
Yeah, they're hiding. That's better. Better that do that, because the other alternative is there won't be yotz anything. Because they can't hear from the Mavarach. So this is a Gemara we learned in the beginning of the year. It's in the beginning of Shloisha Sha'achul. The Gemara says that in the days of the Reish Galusa, he used to have a lot of Chachamim that would come and eat at his table. And Avshe Kuli Almad was very noisy in the dining room. So it was very, very noisy. And Talmidei Chachamim, what should they do? So the Gemara says that the Talmidei Chachamim, what they did was they used to do little groups of 3 and 3 and do Birchas HaMazon quietly to themselves. The Gemara says, but they lose the Baruch of Elokeinu. The Gemara says because if 10 people will do together, the Yeresh Galusa will hear and he will be upset. So the Rishonim understand that it's not just the Yeresh Galusa, because he's like a half a king. Any Balabayas who's going to be makpid. So you shouldn't do that. Better you should make little groups of 3 and 3 and quietly make the zimun. Because the other alternative is that you're not going to make any zimun, because if you don't hear the mavarech, you're not yoytze. Okay, now how much the Mishnah Berurah is going to bring at the bottom, how much do you have to hear from the mavarech in order to be yoytze? Somebody, the Charanim say, you have to hear just the beginning. Navarech lelikeinu shachal mishaloi. Other Rishonim say no. You also have to. Achronim Poiskim said that you have to actually hear Baruch Ato Hashem Azones Hakol. You have to also hear the end of the bracha in order to be yotze.
Which verse is after the word?
I don't know if he was kaveh at the end. He brings both shittas. I don't know if he at the end came to Maskona here. It's in Sifkot Yud Zayin. He's not. Weiter.
Wir kommen von zwischen schon heute gerne die Novor, wenn wir da kommen in der Mitte, dann Sonne. A couple of
Where you Zayin?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's quoting it from Achronim, but he quotes it also from the Alter Rebbe.
Hope on all that.
Okay.
No one does this, but I mean, I don't think it's minute Chabad, but I know that people don't know. You're supposed to give it. We try to say every word with the zimun chazam.
Right. V'akaponim, if you couldn't hear at least the Birchas HaZimun l'chol hadayis, you're not yoytza. Everyone will agree. If you didn't hear from the Nevorech l'lekeinu shachalom shaloi, you are not yoytza. Siv Beis, afilu lo yukva mitchila kulam lechel yachad ela shashnayim kol b'vachach b'ashlishi v'kov eimon. Even if they didn't sit down together to eat, two people sat down and to eat, and then the third person came. Or one person sat down to eat, and then two people joined them. And they're not permissible for them to split. As long as they're together, however, if a third person will eat with them, but he's not kavua with them, he's allowed. Then they're allowed to split. Elam keinu shamash unless he's a shamash.
What do you mean he's kavu with them?
Okay, so this is a very, very important halacha.
He ate with them and he's not
Top of the bottom.
We're in Siv Beis, the last line. Elam keinu shamash. Siv Beis, the last line. Elam keinu shamash. So shamash is an exception. We'll talk about this in a second. But this halacha base is very critical to understand when the chalois of a zimun happens. There's two very important conditions. One is that it has to be kviyus. This zimun is not really where he goes into all the details of kviyus, and we already learned about the halachas of kviyus at the beginning of this year and the beginning of the previous year. It's in Siman Kuf Samach Zayin. Over there it talks about when you make hamoitzi, one person makes hamoitzi for everyone, but that's only if there's kviyus. In the days of the Shas, kviyus meant that there was a seiba. Bizman hazeh, you don't need a seiba, say that Rishonim, to show that there is kviyus. As long as they're sitting al shulchan echad al mapa achas, on one table, or if they're in the park and they have a picnic, as long as they put down a shmata on the floor, mapa achas, that makes it, it's a kviyus. Okay. So, as I said, that's kviyus, and kviyus we already learned to Simakuf Samach Zayin. There has to be that the meal had kviyus. In other words, if these people are walking in the park and they're eating sandwich, if there could be even a million of people, and they're walking around the park together, and they're walking on the beach, they're walking in the field, they're walking in the forest, whatever, they're walking in the zoo, and they're eating sandwiches, that's nothing, because there's no kviyus. It has to be that they have a kviyus.
So what do you mean by kviyus?
The definition of kviyus is that they're sitting together at one table, or they're sitting on the floor and there is a tablecloth on the floor. Not that each one is having their own silver foil and the sandwich is in their own silver foil.
So if they're in a car, that would be a kviyus.
Pashtus, there's a shayla about a car actually.
It's moving.
It's a Simakuf Samach Zayin. As I said, I don't want to go in so much of those halachas because we could get back to it, but now there's a chidush in this simon which is a second condition, which is besides the
So what
fact
does it mean?
Huh?
In Yud Ches.
Sivkot Yud Ches, yeah.
Kviyas like a
Shulchan Echad, Afilo Kol Echad Like Miyakorek, Mavur Liyil, B'Simen Kuf Samach Zayin Sif Yud Aleph.
L'chayra, a car would be like Shulchan Achas. L'chayra.
That's his movie.
No, but it's like they're all on the same bench or the same.
I think that was the
Same
Maskana
platform.
that there is a Shulchan, they are a Shulchan Achas.
It's like a Shulchan.
Look, so we'll bring the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Kuf Samach Zayin.
It's a figurative Shulchan. It's not to be a Shulchan like this. It's like they're all
same platform.
If they're on
they're all on the
horses,
same boat.
no, but if they're on
Platform for both,
horses
yeah.
and they're all walking, it doesn't help.
Right.
They have to stop the horses.
Yeah, but here they're all.
And if they're on a
all on the same
svina,
boat.
If they're in a
if they're on a
carriage,
svina,
Svina.
it doesn't matter.
They're
The
a
svina's
horse
moving.
and wagon. They're in a
Spina's
wagon.
moving, it's not kvar. See?
Can I bother you? Bring a Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Chelik Aleph. Could you bring Chelik Aleph? If it was in horses, they have to stop because if 10 people are walking on 10
Because they're not
separate
together,
horses,
they're on the Shulchan
and if it's on a svina, I think the Alter Rebbe said for sure. If
good.
they're sitting in a restaurant in a svina, yeah. So today you have svina.
It's the same thing. It's like
Then
Shulchan Achas.
Yeah, the Shulchan
So
Aruch.
it's a
But if they're sitting in Agola, not that was Masupik about this.
Okay, but usually,
Second.
And a coach. I mean,
Zion.
the coach is no good.
אבל אם יושבים בגולה, יש לי סטאפק, אם דינה כרחובים על גבי בהמה, שהגולה גם כמלאכס, משנקם בספינה שאין חשוב במלאכס אלא מים מלכו תחתיה ואין אכל העולם, אויב שכם שחרום מהגולה, מצטאחס, מצטרפים.
So why would that be different from the Svina? Why would that be?
to it. Kufa in Tess. No, the Alter doesn't have a Maskona. Interesting.
Why it's like a Svina?
Because the Sfina
Why is the Sfina so different?
is a permanent thing. The water makes it move. Mashenkin Dagola that has wheels that are part of the to make its
attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all
It's
sitting on one
because
platform.
the Gemara
one-
doesn't talk about it in the Furish. The Gemara talks about horses. The Gemara says that if they're horses, in order for big kviyas, they all have to stop their horses. And if they're walking, there's no kviyas. And the Rishonim say, oh, Sfina is different. So the later poskim said, but how about if they're sitting in a wagon? Oh, Masupik. The Alter Rebbe doesn't paskin.
But you know, but there's nobody sitting in the wagon.
No, people
car.
do, sure.
Yeah, if you go
You have-
to
you have-
commuter to buses.
People sit together.
They eat together.
Right.
Well, Lakewood, Muncie,
a
New York.
yeshiva takes they hire a bus company, Monroe bus,
Monroe, yeah.
and they can take the whole yeshiva at the end of the for a trip, right?
Picnic.
They're going. The eighth grade is
Right.
going to Washington.
they eat their box lunch on the bus.
Right. I eat the bus all the
So
time.
this would be. So that's the shaila.
Yeah, that's it.
It's kvius. This would be the shaila. Now, one might say, who cares? So you'll be machmir and make a zimun, but it's not so simple. If you're not chayav a zimun, it's not pasha that you're allowed to do a zimun.
See, I mean, Fianias deity. If there is no shulchan, but they're all sitting together, so it's even more of a hit starfers together. If they're in a suit, in a restaurant, and every table has its own shulchan, so everyone bedavka went there bekavana to eat separate. No one goes to after and then you see someone else, it's all we ate together. It's known that they eat separately. But you have a whole yeshiva, a whole group traveling together in the svina. I mean, in a
bus.
car.
Or a coach.
So they can't go anywhere. So they're mamish forced to be together.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a double question, also on a bus. They're all in the yeshiva. They're all. Oh, and it says here, Bnei Beiso, Balabais, Zayin. He said.
Good. That's the Bnei Bayis. They're ready.
Who are you reading?
We assume they're ready kavua.
But why is it good for a minyan? They daven
No, so,
shacharis in the bus.
Well, Bear Grosham, the Balabais,
Right.
Bnei Beiso, Shosh, Lecha, the Kvitz.
They don't need a shulchan.
Echad, because he's
that
the
doesn't supersede.
it's understood, right? Because he's the Balabas, and his children always eat with him. So machmish lois if they don't understand with Tish or not. But this, but a bus.
Yeah.
They're
Why
going-
is that
it's
any?
also under
Why is
one
it double
bus.
standard? What's
Because
going on here?
none of them own the
Zimun
bus. The camp
is
owns the
not
bus.
the
The
same.
camp is the
Zimun
bus.
is
So you're all eating on
So
the
how do you understand it?
Well, it's like similar to what the girl's saying, I think.
Why zimun is different from?
There's two things. There has to be kaviyus that they're b'shulchan echad.
Which is the bus, camp or whatever it is, or
You're saying
Shulchan
that Baal
Echad
Bayis,
is
even if they didn't sit down b'shulchan echad, even if they didn't sit down
It's
b'shulchan
a
echad,
kviz.
they sat down on the chairs, say in their house. They sat
Right.
down on chairs without a shulchan, that's a kviyus.
That's a
Oh, he
But
says
then,
even a different shulchan, he says.
no,
Where are you reading from?
if you caught Yud Ches.
I feel
The-
the low
the-
shulchan echad.
Yeah,
No,
he
he
didn't
doesn't
say
say like they-
no. He's saying
doesn't
if
mean
they're in a
that
house,
isn't
there's not a table, and the P sitting because
Those
there's a
shulchan
Gemara
could be
Mefureshus
shulchan
that says
shulchan.
because there's a Gemara Mefureshus that says that if they're riding on the horses, in order for that to be a kviz, they have to stop their horses. So it's hard to go around the Gemara. The Gemara says that if they're riding on horses, they have to stop the horses. But Rishonim will say, oh, but if they were sitting in a boat is not a horse.
Why is that different? Why the boat
Why?
moving?
Because as the Alter says, the boat is in one place and the water makes it move. Shenken Bagola, they're Mesupik. I don't think the Vort of the Gra would help for that. The Gra was talking about the sitting in the family, sitting in the house without a table.
Because it's understood, right? Why is it considered a kviz?
Because
it's
to show that
it's
they're
Muvan.
kavua.
Yeah, it's no, because he's the Balabas, they're his family. So they by mail are butted to him. So it's like they're all on Shulchan Aruch. It's his Shulchan.
So what's if a father?
The whole house is his Shulchan.
What's if a father has 10 sons and they're riding out in the field? and they're on the horses.
If it's the father's horses, we'll start me again.
Okay.
If it's the father's horses.
But they cannot get the zimun.
No,
They have to
obviously
stop.
they have to.
They have to stop.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
No,
No.
you're saying
I'm saying the Gemara says if to stop for the meal, not only for Bechaz Hamazon. In order for it to be a kvius, if they're riding on the horses, they have to stop the horses for the meal. So again, Siv Beis is saying that two things have to happen for zimun to take place. Number is they have to eat in the way of kavua. They have to sit at the same table or at the same tablecloth. Later, we're going to learn that if there's a in Siman Kuf Tzadik Hey, that if there's a wedding, for example, and they have waiters going from table to table, even if there's 100 tables, all the 100 tables become like one big table. The Shamoshim, they go from table to table, even maybe from room to room, that they're mitzadif
That's why
everyone.
they make Shem
But right, exactly. That's why the Shem Brachas works, even though there is 100 round tables here, because the Shamoshim are walking from. But there has to be a kvius that they're all sitting at one table, or the Shamoshim are going to make 100 tables into one table. Number one, and number two is that they ate together. That actually there's a machlokes Rishonim, Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Rosh. Rabbi Yochanan holds that they have to be at the beginning by a moitzi. They all sat down at the same time.
which is not possible.
Which is not possible. But we paskin like that Rosh, that no, as long as they're finishing the Suda together. As long as they're finishing the Suda together, means they're eating together at the same time. In other words, if one person finished eating, he finished it completely. He just didn't get a chance to bench. Or two people, they finished eating, they're finished, they're not hungry. If you're going to give them food, and they can't. Full. Finito. And now a third guy came over and sat down by their table. So then even the Rosh will agree, no deal. No deal. There has to be that they were eating together, chotch, that they finished the meal together. So gesund. Okay. Let's read again. Siv Beis. Afilu lo hukva mitchila kulam lechel b'yachad. Even if they didn't make a kvius to eat together, Elo sheshnaim kov, two people sat down to eat, but in the way of kvius. And then the third person came, imam, and he made a kvius with them. One person made a kvius. Then the two people made a kvius with him. They're not allowed to split. At the end, they don't have to be a kvius at the beginning. If there's number one, there's a kvius. And number two, they were eating together at the same time at the end of the Su'udah. So then they are chayiv to have zimun together. If the third guy is going to come and he's not going to sit down, say the two people sitting at the table and he didn't sit down. He's standing and he's eating a sandwich, but he's not sitting. So then they're allowed to split from him. Elim Kain, Shamash, unless there's a Shamash. The Shamash doesn't have to be sitting at the table in order to be considered kabul with them. Even in a place where you're allowed to split, Odif Tfeila Zaman together, Mishum de Berevam, turn the page, Hadas Melech. Many Acharonim disagree with this Ramah.
Was he sent here exactly?
Go turn back to the previous page. Look at the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Yud and Yud Aleph. Let's look at Yud Aleph. It's the top, the second line from the top.
Oh yeah, Yazu.
Yeah. Heine de Lombrin Toy Vioisel, the Schalke de la Harbes of Brochs, Weimedar Kamosh, Shedarke, Daito Adrabe, Shemitzum and a Mufcha Shalel Schalak, Ben Beessen and Ben Beshisha. Mishum Revam had the Smelach. Rak Bedina, Ein, Isabadova Imischalk. The Ramah holds that if you have 20 people, Mitzvah and a Mufcha is that they should not split. 20 people.
It's like road factory smell.
Even 100, 1,000 people.
Not to
Mitzvah min ha-mufcher is they should not split. Why? Because the more people are taking part in the zimun, there's more hadas melech. That's the shit of the Ramah.
I don't understand. I mean, this is what, yeah. What's the shot? If they weren't conveyed, it's not. How can they even bench the chavah?
No, talk about
They
They were conveying.
No, he says a feel if they weren't kavui.
Where?
What are you saying?
The last line, the Ramah.
I know it's in the Mishnah Berurah Chav Gimel.
One second, let's finish this.
Why is it B'Shoim L'Chalek? Because they did not. There was never a kvius. So if there was never a kvius, how could they make a zimun? What does it mean? Other tables on? There's no kvius.
Could you repeat that again?
Well, it's a good kasha. It's totally in the next Mishnah Berurah. You have to look at the next Mishnah Berurah because there are those that hold it. The truth is that you could make a zimun even when you're not obligated to make a zimun.
Ah.
So look at the next one. But anyway, let's finish first the
But we were
Sifkot
saying last
Yudala.
night, not that.
Okay. Sifkot. Let's finish Sifkot Yudala. Rak v'yesh shechol kimal zeh svira lahu. That's the second line of the big fat lines in the Mishnah Berurah. V'yesh shechol kimal zeh svira lahu. B'kivin shesh b'chol kat gam ke miktas roivam. וגם נזכאים מצווה ביחסים בכל חד וחד, להוכ ישקולים הם יכולים לעשות כמו שירצה אפילו לכתחילה. The other shit is the Taz and the Bach, his father-in-law, the Taz was the Bach. They say no, that there is a certain mila and more brachas, and at the end of the day, 10 people is 4 to Dava Choshu. So, and 20 is not that much more Choshu than 10, so there's a certain mila, so they can decide whatever they want. If they want 20 people, it's nicer, it's Araibam. If they want, they can split into 2 groups. As I said yesterday, because of this machloikis of the Ramah and the Taz, maybe that's what the Rebbe meant. Again, I don't know what the Rebbe meant. Going back to the story, in the 770, there was 2 or 3 chasanim, and they did 3 Shavim brachas, not 2 Shavim brachas, one after the other. And the Rebbe said that he doesn't like that. Why? Again, I'm going to read inside. He says, "Yesh makom l'shakal v'tar im yechelum l'schalak l'chaburas l'avara kol chabura b'fnei atzma v'lo hefsek b'intayim." So, what was the Rebbe's problem? There was 5,000 people in 770, right? So there was enough. There was enough. So 2,500 will answer for the Sheva brachas of the first Chosin Kala, and then 2,500 will answer for the other Chosin Kala. So what was the Rebbe's problem?
What would you do? Los mitzvahs chavilas.
Exactly.
No, I made it separate. No. They did Sheva brachas, finish. Then the second Chosin Kala did it. Not chavilas.
But it was
Chavilas.
one meal.
No, chavilas means a different thing. Chavilas means that they made for the same Chosin Kala 1 Sheva brachas. That would mean chavilas.
2
Stuffed in it.
One for
No, you made 1 for both Chosin Kala. So it's like taking a shopping bag and putting double the groceries inside.
Let's say somebody getting married, and somebody got married 2 days before, so you hop around and when you go to the other wedding, you make sure brachas are both of them.
Yeah?
Yeah, many times like that. The one is 7 sure brachas.
What's it? 1 set of Sheva brachas for 2?
For 2?
For 2.
One is just get married that day, that night, and another one.
Okay, so
I'm saying
I don't
and some
know.
of them-
So you're
and some
asking a
of them-
shaila and answering your own shaila.
And some of them doing a share brachas in a chasana, but they take a table, a separate table, and benching by themselves also. Like in 770.
So this is the thing that we're talking about. So I don't know what was the Rebbe's problem. If we have in 770 5,000 people, right? So the Rebbe says, "Yesh makom l'shakal v'tar yim yechelum l'schalak l'chaburas l'avara kol chabura b'fnei atzma lo hefsek b'intayim." So I think maybe the Rebbe's problem was because according to the Ramah, there's a right, but Rebbe Smela. So the Rebbe's eitzah was they should do Sheva brachas and then have another sicha b'divrei Torah. So that makes a kilo. There's a new kvius. The Rebbe says, "B'chol oifen kedei shelo yeh tzorech likonos l'kol ha'pipulim." So then there's an eitzah. What's the eitzah? Lahafsik ben birchas hamazon shel chabura achas lachavar al yedei divrei Torah. Ki divrei Torah koyven bracha la'atzmai, v'lachen arei ze nechshav l'masiba chadosha v'shulchan chodesh.
Oh, because otherwise you would say that Parak Aleim Birchas Zimun. I mean, once you miss the first one, for the last 2,500, they missed the first Zimun. Remember you said one
Parach
third?
Zimun.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't do it.
No, I don't know if that the Parach Zimun is still Parach Zimun because that's it. The people that answered for the first is Parach Zimun.
So the second one, why? What? And they answered to the first?
I don't know. I still don't have an answer. You asked it yesterday.
Oh.
I thought I would have an answer.
All right, okay. No,
I don't know.
We said
Good
before that the 2 people eat and a third person come, they could make a zimun. And the same third person, if he going to other 2 people,
if he eats with them.
But he has to eat with them. He has to eat with them. He has to eat with them. Okay, fine. So we finished in base. Siv Gimel. If they were riding were riding on horses. V'amru noichel. Ava b'shek kol echad echel mikikre v'la yordam ha'behemis start from kimish amda v'makam echel. If they decided to stand in one place, that's a kriyas. Aval im hoya hoylchim v'oichlin. If they're walking and eating. Loi. That doesn't help. They have to stop and stand in one place. Vim hoya hoylchim b'sadam v'fazarma v'radam v'b'shechem kulam b'shachel v'mekekelechen kimish alakov v'makam lechel inam starfim. If they were, you know, hanging out in different parts of the field, but they didn't make a feast to eat together, then there's no itztarfus. Haminig, shaloi l'zamim.
Anything about flying? If you fly on a plane together,
Yeah,
But we spoke about
I spoke about a car.
Akari says, "Ima yorichim."
No, the roichlim means on a horse. Yeah. Haminig, shaloi l'zamim, bebeis goy. It's an interesting question. If a plane is like a boat, or a plane is like a wagon. Haminig, huh?
It's not like the water's moving in the air. It's the engine.
The engine.
What about also has an engine?
But a boat also has an
Well, has an engine. It
Right.
propels
We
it.
say the boat is moving, not the water. So that the boat is.
So it should be.
It's not like a sus. So it's like a.
It's like a wagon.
Oh, it should be
Well,
like a
that he
swing.
says
I mean,
because the water moves it. But I'm saying
No,
the
I said a
no,
svina
that's
is considered
his
like a shulchan
distinction.
aruch, because the svina is not moving, the water is moving.
No, that- the water.
I thought it was the wind.
No, that
In
the
those days, they only
svina.
had sail ships.
Okay, the
it
water,
was
the
the
wind.
wind.
Okay, good. But the bottom line is that the svina is standing in one place, and the wind, the water, other things are moving the svina. Mashenk in Dagola is different. It's a suffix. But a plane,
Definitely, it's moving itself. Because otherwise, it would go straight down.
I don't know. Okay. Continue.
I know people are davening in the plane, make a minyanim.
No, good. You can make a minion. The Shad is going to make a zimun on a plane.
Zimun.
Like fears.
Did you ever see them making a zimun on a
Never.
plane?
Never
Not with
mind.
the- Not with the meal that they.
I don't
they
think
feed.
anyone ever got past the first bite of the food, so it's so awful. It's so awful. Think about that. I don't know if anyone's ever himself benched on a plane.
Sagt weit haminig shloi l'zamen bebeis goy. They shouldn't make a zimun in the house of a goy. Nirali atam. Mishum de lo yuchel kvoy atzma bebeis goy. Mishum yides a goy behavi kilo ochle b'lo keva. Because they're terrified. A goy can run out with a knife. Who knows what? So there's never a kvius. Void yesh lochush l'sakona. Im yishana nosach habrach v'lo yemra rachmei barach balabas hazeh. ולכן מתחילו לקרוב העצמם רק לבור כל אחד לעצמם ולכן אין לשנס המיניג. They don't want to say Rachmi Yavorach Balabais Hazeh because he's a goy. But then if they're not going to say it, the goy is going to say, hey, what's going on over here?
What kind of goy know that the is the most than
I know, it's such a funny thing. Even if all these reasons together were not...
Any guy that allows a Jew to eat in his house probably knows.
He knows. Interesting thing that the Rama says. He says, whatever it is, it's a funny minig, but but because the minig Yisrael is not to make us a zimun of a beis goy, it's as if when they sat down, they said we're not having a kviyus. In order to have a zimun, the chiyuv of zimun is only if there was a kviyus. Number one, there has to be so it has to be al shulchan echad, al mapa echad. But if they all sat down and they said, no, we're not having, there's no kviyus here. I'm in a hurry, you're in a hurry, there's no kviyus. The Chatchil they said, there's no kviyus, so then there's no chiyuv for zimun.
What if it's Santa Claus and he says Gesundheit?
What do you mean with that? I'm
No,
fine.
I'm saying he's that jolly guy and they're not afraid of him. He says, ho, 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 sit, of course you can sit on my table. It's not a problem.
No, but that's what they're going to say.
That
That even if you're going to say,
They have no yishuv
Well, they know he's a fake, they know he's a real
No
guy.
yishuv. It's a sakona. No yishuv.
no, but that's what he's saying. What's the point? One jolly
Yeah,
guy,
jolly
there's no
guy.
sakona. But that's what the Rama is saying. It doesn't matter what the reason. That's minig Yisrael, that we don't make a zimmer beis goy. So it's as if when they sat down, they made a thing to say, oh, there's no kviyas going on right now.
You should know, I had one guy neighbor in the 5 towns where I grew up, and we were all afraid of him. He was a nut. We didn't eat at his table. We didn't even want to go into his house. He was crazy.
And after submit.
No, because he's married to a Jew.
80% of the Christmas tree in New York City is sold by a Jew.
And all,
About couple millions.
and all this,
Couple millions.
and all the dresses and all the stuff that has
Made by a Jew.
Sure.
So if, hey, I'm sorry,
The
Dalit.
one that's,
This is Parnasa.
even the guy that's ringing the bell on the street is Jewish.
Shloisha sheyosh v'lecho. 3 people sat down to eat. Oberge b'chitza moitzi and the made a moitzi. I feel kol echad oichel mikikori. Even each one has his own bread, separate. I feel lo yochel adayin kazayis pas, even if they didn't eat one pas of kazayis. It doesn't matter. Once they sat together to eat, they're not allowed to split. That was the Gemara that we learned yesterday.
He said the Mishra says today the minhag is to eat. We do make a zimun by a guy.
What?
Yeah.
Mishra says today the minhag is to eat
Yeah.
by a guy.
Oh,
We
you
make a
say-
zimun by a guy. And
I
when it
think
comes to
Alter-
harachim, you say a different harachim.
Right.
Why the minhag
think
change?
Alter-
Why the minhag change?
Sakana.
I guess because in Poland they didn't live there for 1,000 years and they weren't massacred until 1,000 years. So they weren't so terrible.
Yeah. So they let down their guard.
They still wrote this in Poland. You know? I mean, they hated the Jews, but they weren't. They weren't.
You were not
Jews
choshen
lived
mitzvah.
unaccosted in Poland for 1,000 years.
Yeah. True. See, hey, Shloisha Shabbat Mishalosh Chaburis. 3 people, they came from 3 separate Chaburis. Right. Shloisha B'nala Meschar B'Ela Shloisha. Im Zimno Aleim B'Mkoimon. Kegoyen Shivsiku Kol Echad L'Shnayim Ad Shamru Azon. Shuveini Mechelim Lazaman. Afilo Ochlo Achikach Yachad V'Gomru Sadosan. There was say there were 3 tables in the room, and each one had 3 people, and in each table 2 people they were ready to do Bechsa Muslim, so the other one said, okay, fine, you just so once they said an answer to the Birchas Zimun, and then they said Azon Sakol, they said Omein, that's it. The zimun flew away from them. But if there was no zimun in the original table, why? Whatever, there was for some reason it was permissible for the other 2 to run out. Or for whatever reason it was permissible for them to run out, because it was a hefsid moment or it was a dvar mitzvah, and the other 2 people ran away. So now chayavim lazanim ve'enim chasharim v'cholak afilu lo yoch leila shloisha b'yachim mishenischabru. So again, so you have a room, for example, and you have 3 tables, each has 3 people. So if in each table there's one person that's still eating, but they already answered for the original zimun, it's called parach zimun minay. The zimun flew away from them, because once they answered for a zimun, that's it. That zimun flew away from them. They're not, even if they continued, these 3 people continued sitting in the same room, and they decided to eat now one table, and now doesn't matter. Parach zimun minay. But if they didn't answer in the original table, so they still have the chayev from zimun. So now these 3 people should get together and do zimun.
Besides that, they're eating also.
Huh?
Can move on. They also eat.
Even if they didn't eat, that's what it's saying.
Oh, they
Even if they didn't. I feel a loyal leila shlosh b'yachid mishenischabru. So.
And you have the kasha duchte. Why did they park zimun? They missed the first time.
No, because the first time they missed. But now, at the end of the day, they're in the same room. So because they're in the same room right now, and there's a chiyuv zimun on them, so we say that the chiyuv zimun remains on them. Now they're mechuyev to make a zimun.
That's what's happening in Kiddushin. When they're asking you, come be mitzaref to me, and the
Right.
mitzaref, you're not allowed to answer for the big zimun. Parach zimun.
Sivov.
It says the Mishnah.
Yeah. Which one?
Lamed.
No, that's in the previous case that they did answer.
Oh.
That when they did answer, zog the kfar porach zimun menayed that she's zimun alay mekoydem. But if they did not answer, so it's still on their shoulders. There's still the chiyuv of zimun. Siv Givav Shalosh. Sivav really is Sivhei and Vav. There's a machlokas Rishonim had to pshat the Gemara that we learned yesterday, and we pass them like both. Shalosh Chabura Shoy B'Chalach Da'arba Perish Echad Mekol Chabura V'Nitzaref L'Al Chabura Acheres V'Zimna Shlosh Nishonim Porach Zimna Minayu The Kiddush Chevereim Zimna Vu Adin Imloya B'Chol Chabura L'Shlosha V'Olach Echad Mekol Chabura Kodem Zimna V'Nischaber L'Shlosha Bo'Echad L'Chol Chabura V'Nitzaref Mashnayim Rishonim V'Zimna Yachad Porach Zimna Mi'ela Shlosha Kiddush Shekvar Zimna Chaburos Al B'Shal Zimna Imon. So it's a very interesting din that if they ate and there's 3 tables in the room and one person from each table walked out of the room for whatever reason, and there was already zimun at their table, they lost the zimun. Shalosh chabura she'ochlo b'chol chabura shloshim adam also l'chol echel leparim kol chabura l'zama b'yachad v'yishnayim on nisharam kol chabura enim chalom zama achekach limoy b'chol chabura arba muter leparim echem kol chabura l'zama b'yachad v'nisharim yizam kol chabura m'kum, as we said in the beginning of the simon. Turn the page, just one more page. I just want to, this is something, my mission at the beginning of the year, we looked at this, but we didn't learn some of the simon yet. So now that we learned the simon, you can understand what's going on.
Weddings.
B'madashilna kadmeichen. So there was in the in Apardes there was a whole article, and there was a follow-up article that saying that people go to chasna and they don't wait for the sheva brachas, and they make a little zimun, 3 people together, and it's also to do such a thing. Firstly, there is a chiyuv to have 10. And secondly, there's a chiyuv. You came to Simchas Chosam Akal. There's a chiyuv to hear Sheva Brachas.
Well, she didn't have money. You had in mind that you had to go home.
Oh, so this is the Rebbe's answer. We just based on the simon we just learned.
This one.
We learned it. I'm just saying that we learned at the beginning of the year before we learned.
Right.
I'm just bringing it back. Now you understand the So it's second. So b'mad shilna kadmeichen amishtato besudas nasuim keminig medina mesubin chabura chaburis. ומקאמה הם יויסם מסור, וכל איך ואיך שולחונם משמשים ומצרפים את זה לכל השולחונות. So even though there's 100 tables, but the shamoshim are mitzaref all the tables. ובסורך עשו דקאמה מחבורס מבורכים לעצמם מבלי לחכס לברכס המוזמן שבשולחן הראש, אשר חוסן הקל בסובים עליו, ומבלי עמידס 7 ברוכס וגם לא שמחה במעוינוי. יייס פסגומר למעבד הוכי ולמפת נפשי משבע ברוכס. So first the Rebbe says, Kanida Sibas Aminig, just before the Lumbus, what's going on? Number 1, Lo Kol Echa Vecha Yochel HaHarich Besudim, V'nei Tirdes Abrius, Machos Al Zmana, K'yetze B'zeh. As we say in Simadesh, that when a person has a Hefsed Monon, that they're allowed to, and the other 2 people are Makai Tzacharain, and he has a business appointment to go to. So he's allowed to run out of the room.
No, but in the wedding, he has to get up in the morning to
So he has to go to work. That's what I'm saying. That's,
we leave. Yeah.
Let's say 2
I'm
o'clock in the
explaining to you,
morning.
when the Rebbe says Chos Al Zmanoi, it's not just a
Chos al
balabatish
Zmanoi.
thing. When
It's not like
Simadesh,
davening that if you have 10 people, you're not allowed to go outside. Here, you're allowed to
yeah,
go outside.
I don't know about davening, but okay. Befrat Shilapam Marichas Ba'al the Inyan and Bilti Ritzoyim, that maybe there's a legitimacy of a person who wants to go away early from the chasna. So. Number 2, Amidas Sheva Brachas Kardam Amirasa B'Shulchan Aroshi the Chasam Akal Torah Kepedas Amachuptana. Another hand to say that this table will sit beside, and they'll bring a kolis of yayin, and they'll say a Simcha B'Moinoi, and they'll make Sheva Brachas. Chatanim will not be very happy. Okay, so this is the sibah for the minik.
And also the cameras will go to the wrong table.
Well, that's what the Chatanim will be back. Afiza Shinagam Minik. Number 1, Shekulim Yechaku at Seifas Uda. If you want to tell me that we're going to change the minhag from today on, everyone should wait till the end of the chasna. What's going to happen? Tigrim, that's it. Tigrim shekama yimnam l'shtata b'sudazu call out. By days that yugrim esirchus chosam v'kala. Besides the bachan that will pay to dance,
or drank the dance.
yeah. So number 1, it'll be a giroin in the Simchas Chosam Akala. There's, if you're going to make it the corner that people, if you come to the wedding, you must stay till 12 o'clock, till they 12, 12:30, 11:30. There'll be plenty of people that are not going to come to Chasnas.
How about mitzvah dance, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. Number 2, Sheivorchu b'shalchonas anal zayim brachas b'shtei koises kibudim yeshash l'kapeda ve'el yeshash l'kapeda l'chatchil lo yavoyu. So v'kimish b'shnei apanim inishal mitzvah yeshnoi. There's a question of a mitzvah, as we say in Siman Reish, that if there is a mitzvah, you're allowed to run out of the room, or for a hefsed, you're allowed to run out of the room, and even though there's a chiyuv of zimun. וגם שנספשת המינג ביוסף והמויכה מצווה לישב המינג ביש להם מיוסד השלושה. There's 3 reasons to be made. Number 1 is Shulchan Aruch and Kuf Tzad the Gimel Sof Sif Aleph. Limnoya kapedas balabayis muter lasora leicholek. There's the din of the Reish Galusa, and that the siman that we just learned in Sif Aleph. that if the balabais is going to be makpid, but you're not going to hear, so then we make only say that they can have little groups of 3 and 3. Okay, this doesn't answer fully, but we see that there is a number.
Why not?
Because over there they lose they hey nemes they lose elikenu, but in our case they lose even more. Besides, they lose the sheva brachas. They lose the sheva brachas. Shom.
The Reish Galus is greater.
Right. Okay.
There's more covered even for the Reish Galus than
No, but the Shulchan Aruch doesn't understand it. The Rishonim didn't. I would learn the Gemara. I would say it's a union of covered malchus.
Right.
But for some reason, the Rishonim didn't understand it that way. They understood any balabais that'll be makbid.
Oh.
So, the Shulchan Aruch is not machalik between Reish Galus and not.
But you could say a svara.
Well, I would have said it without, but well, the Shulchan Aruch. Shamsif Sifkot and Gimel Af Im Loy Hoyo Tamza Maspik says that Amo Makol Mokem Mekagvar No Aken Have a Kilo Lekoven Atzman Beyachim. This is a very powerful thing. That with the Ramos, we just learned that Ramos said that the minig is not to do a zimun in the house of a goy, and then Ramos gives one reason. Second reason, this is okay. Even if the reasons don't make sense to you, because the fact is that the minig is not to do zimun in the house of a goy, it's as if there was never a kvius. It's as if they all sat down at the table and said, let's make believe we're not sitting at one table.
Exactly.
Or let's make believe that we're running and then there's no kvius. So therefore, in the house of a goy, there's never a kvius. So the Rebbe says, because today in America, that's the minig, that when people come to Chasna, everyone knows that most of the oilam is going to leave before the front
No
table.
kvius.
Right? So it's as if Mechatchila there wasn't such a kvius. So we said, that we're not having the absolute kvius of them. We need to have 10 simcha v'moina shava brachas. No, we're not part of that kvius.
But for 3, you say you could do it.
Yeah.
It's like a dichotomy.
Exactly.
I'm
Right.
saying for 3, you say like there is a kviz for 3. But I want to leave early, I can leave early. Can you make it tonight that either way? Can you do it both ways? And if I need,
That's what it sounds like.
right.
Because if there was zero
Oh.
kvius,
Oh,
so
right.
then you have
Can't
a
even make
shayla.
3. Right.
It's a shayla. Well,
No,
we should
what I'm
move-
saying is that if you want to stay till the end, then in other words, you can use it up or you don't want to use it up. The Indian of
I
kviz.
hear. It sounds that
Make
way.
out tonight.
Yeah, it's like at night. Yesh breida.
It's better.
Okay, let's leave it at this.
Yeah, basically.